Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Sector 5. I am your host, as always, Cody the Hangman Heinzman, and I am here for my first ever tier list video. And the topic of this tier list is the characters from The Rookie. I'm going to go through and rate the characters from The Rookie. And, of course, this is all my opinion, and I'm ready for the backlash that is going to come from this video. Because I'm sure that some of the people that I think other people would want higher on the list are in a tier that they will not agree with. Now, let's talk about the tiers for a minute. We got our top tier, our S tier, and then the next tier down is I really like the character. The next tier, they grew on me, someone that, didn't like at the beginning of the show or had no strong opinions on, and they had an episode or something that really moved them up the ranks. Then you've got your meh shrug tier that don't belong in the tier below them, I feel, but didn't grow on me as much as a character, but have the potential to go up to the grow on me tier. And then you've got the trash tier. Trash is a negative word for to use. They're just characters that I either don't have opinions for or I truly don't like them and think they're trash. So why not get this started? We're going to start with the main character, the guy that everyone knows, Officer John Nolan, starting it off strong. And given that he is the main character, I think he has to go into S. Now, just because he is the main character doesn't mean, doesn't really mean that he has to be there and should be there, but I feel that it's hard to put him in any other tier. It's hard to put him on, grow on me tier because I liked his character in first season. There's never been a season that I do not like the character of John Nolan. And he deserves more than being on the tier of really like. So I have to put him in S tier. And that's probably kind of obvious. Next up, I'm going with Angela Lopez, and I'm going to put her in the I really like her tier. It's not that I don't think she deserves to be in the S tier, but if there's any of the ones that do go into the A tier later on in the video that could go to S, I feel could be Angela Lopez. They really do more with her character. One of the things that puts her in the really like tier and doesn't go into S is I kind of wish she would have had more of a presence in season 3 when Jackson was dealing with what is his name? Hang on, let me look at my list. Doug Stanton. Whenever he was dealing with the training officer, Doug Stanton. I wish Lopez had a little more play in that. I wish we would have had more than just that one scene with Doug and Lopez when they come to the scene whenever Lopez became a detective. I know there may have been a bit of a limitation given Lopez was pregnant at the time and I had to play with it. I just wish she had more of a presence. And I think that might be what keeps her into the really like tier. It's kind of weird that she didn't have much of a presence when someone was going after her rookie that she really bonded with. Speaking of that rookie that she bonded with, Jackson West, he also goes into A tier. And some of the things that keeps him out of S tier for me is kind of the way the exit happened. I'm not going to talk about the drama because I've watched a few videos about the drama that happened with his character and everything. But if Jackson was able to have a better send-off, I think he would be up on the list a little bit more. His struggles with being a cop kind of puts him down too as well. Because with him kind of being raised to be in that position, I feel they portrayed it interestingly. So, I think I'm going to stick with Jackson going into A tier. Alright, let's talk about the next rookie from the original season, Lucy Chen. And I'm putting her also in the really like tier. And you might hear me calling it A tier because that would be what it is if I didn't have it as really like. Lucy Chen being in the really like, she's another strong contender to be in S tier, the top tier, because all her scenes, everything with Lucy is phenomenal in the show. I don't think there's much that I can say that I'm not a fan of with Lucy. I did find it weird, her being with Nolan. That relationship just didn't click with me. It felt too shoehorned in, I guess. And this would be one of my unpopular opinions, I think. I'm not the biggest fan of Chedford. It's kind of weird to me how Tim ended up falling for Lucy. So, that's another reason that she gets knocked down. Her undercover work has been phenomenal. Her moving up the ranks is fantastic. And her relationship with all the characters and everything puts her in that A tier. But just some of the decisions with her character is questionable, in my opinion. So, we will put Lucy in I really like them tier. Next up, I'm going to go with Nyla Harper. And she could go into that grew on me because the way she started out with Nolan was a little iffy, but I am putting her in the really like tier. Because after getting over the whole warrior guardian thing with Nolan and not being a fan of guardian type police officers, she really becomes a character. Learning about her struggle with her ex-husband, her relationship with James in the series, and all her undercover. It's all wonderful to watch. There are no bad Nyla Harper episodes, in my opinion. So I have to put her in the really like tier. And I guess what would keep her from being in the top tier would be her start with Nolan. You know, being against him, being a guardian, kind of trying to be a lone wolf, you know. I'm glad that she is leaning on people now, and her and Lopez is just fantastic duo. I love the strong woman way that they are portraying them. Some of the things, like some of the fight scenes, where it doesn't seem like Lopez and Nyla could take on the people by themselves, is a little weird in my opinion. But that's just my thoughts. So, Harper in the really like tier. Let's talk about Aaron Thorson now. And I have to put him also in the really like tier. He, coming from falsely accused of a murder to being a police officer, fighting through that struggle, it was a really good storyline. And I know it's a not well perceived way of the episodes going by doing the documentary type episodes, and for his figuring out who killed his best friend in Paris being a documentary episode, does usually docks it with some people. I'm okay with it. Because I feel that's the best. That may have been the best way to go through with that. And then his relationship with Selena later on, even though that becomes a little weird where, you know, he thinks that Selena wants to get with him, and that's kind of becomes his character of, oh yeah, these people like me. No, I'm just perceiving it wrong. It is a little weird, but aside from all that, I really do like Aaron Thorson. And it was nice to see him again in season 8. Maybe we'll hopefully see him a little bit more. Next up on the list, we have Rosalind Dyer. And I'm only putting her in really like tier. I know some people probably think I should be putting her in S tier because she is that infamous in the rookie community. But the only reason I'm keeping her out of S tier is, you know, something that is a little out of the hands of the actress. The way Rosalind Dyer ends up leaving the series is what puts her down into the really like and not into S tier. It would have been nice to have been able to somehow keep the character around, even though the actress unfortunately did pass away. So having her get killed off the way it is probably the best move for her, but it would have been nice to have had a little bit more of a satisfying end, I guess, to it. And it's something to think, like, how would the series look had the unfortunate demise of the actual person behind Rosalind Dyer passing? It's the what could have. That's why I can only put her in the really like. But definitely everything behind the character of Rosalind Dyer escaping from trial and all that deserves to be S tier. But just the fact that the unfortunate end to the actual person behind the character puts it down a little bit. And it might be wrong of me to rate the character behind the actual person and everything, but it's just that, like I said, it's that what if with it. I would like to have seen what more the show would have played with. Not saying I wanted her to overstay her welcome like some people, but I feel like there could have been more. Moving on, we're going to talk about Wesley Evers. And I'm putting him in the really like tier as well. I know he didn't seem like he's well perceived at the beginning because of all the arguments and everything with Lopez, but I think that's what makes the character. He definitely evolves through the show and becomes very more likable, but I think my favorite character, if you were asking me my favorite character, and it's weird that I'm saying this is my favorite character and he's not in S tier, is Wesley. I think maybe another thing that keeps him out of S tier for me is how little he is used. Like, he had a lot going on for him for a while, and now I know he's running for DA, but he seems to fall into the background a little bit more. You know, you see him for maybe 5 seconds an episode, and then that's all you get. So I feel I don't want him being shoved down our throats per se, but a little bit more Wesley presence would be nice. And would probably put him into an S tier. Next up, we're going to talk about Lieutenant Gray. Trying to think of what his first... Lieutenant Wade Gray. And I have him in B tier. And what keeps him out of B tier being he grew on me. What keeps him out of the really like tier is his season 1 character. The way he is portrayed, there's the word I'm looking for, in season 1. Him being so hard on Nolan for something as simple as just because of his age. That just didn't come off right with me. I understand him being, the watch commander and everything, but to go and basically discriminate against Nolan in the first season just did not rub me the right way. He comes around later on, in the one I think the most is the episode in season 1 where Nolan ends up shooting the suspect. Yeah, suspect. And he asks for Gray to be his support officer through the whole thing. That, I think, is where the Wade Gray and Nolan relationship really starts to pick up. where Ray Graves, like, okay, he is serious about all this, so I don't need to be as hard on him as I am. So I like when that relationship starts. Next up, we're going to talk about Randy. Hey, hang on, I gotta get this. Hello?
Skip Tracer Randy!
Right. Skip Tracer Randy. He's going in B tier. Grew on me tier. Not that I don't like the character of Skip Tracer Randy. Every episode he comes in, he is a joy to watch. But I think Nolan says it best. He's good in spurts. And I feel I would be doing a dishonor putting him in the I like him tier. So he necessarily didn't really grow on me because I enjoyed the character, but too much of the character would be too much. So I have to put him in the grew on me tier, and I don't think there's much more to say on the topic. Let's talk about Rachel. Lucy's friend, Rachel. And I have her. She is going to be our first one that we talk about in the mid-tier. I think earlier when I was talking about tiers, I don't think I said mid-tier. She is in mid-tier level. And the mid-tier is kind of that they didn't grow on me. They don't fall into meh character. They're just mid. And I think I have to put Rachel in that spot. Her time with Tim was alright. It didn't seem like it amounted really to anything. It may have been the softening of Tim, maybe a little bit with Rachel, but I guess we could have done without it. I don't want to say she's a nothing character. Her appearance in season 7, where she was going out clubbing and everything, that was interesting to see. But she's mid. Next up, we're going to talk about Tim Bradford. And I have to put him on the grew on me tier. I do really like Tim Bradford. Don't get me wrong. But I do have to put him on the grew on me tier for season 1. The way he's portrayed in season 1, especially that first episode, is really rough to go back and watch him as a character like that. And I can't do this ranking video and just throw out season 1. Without season 1, he would probably be S tier, if not the really like tier. Because his interactions with Nolan, I love Nolan Tim episodes. If I'm being honest, I like the pairing of Tim and Nolan. And he's, all in all, a really good character. But his season 1 portrayal just really puts him down into I have to put him in grew on me tier. After season 1, fantastic. But season 1 has to dock him down just a little bit. Alright, the next person we're going to talk about is Elroy, the crime scene cleaner. And I have him currently in the meh tier. I feel putting him in mid tier if he had a little bit more of a presence. But he just falls into the meh. He is a very good character for what the episodes that he does show in. But doesn't show up enough for me to put him in mid tier. So he just falls into the meh. I wouldn't put him in trash, because he is a generally good character and has some good moments in the 2 episodes that he is in. It'd be nice to see him a few more times, possibly moving forward. So I think mid tier is best place for him. On the subject of Elroy, let's talk about his significant other in the series, Nell, the dispatch lady, the one that they eventually do get together in the show. And she, like Elroy, falls into the meh tier because of how little utilization she gets. But she's not a bad character, in my opinion. I do like her appearance when John is trying to figure out what's going on with Blair London. I like that inclusion of having her in there because she is in the forefront, and helps with that. So the way she's used in the show puts her in the meh tier category. If there's anything I would like with her, is I kind of wish we had her on the dispatch radio a little bit more. Like, once every other episode, she's the one on the dispatch radio talking to the main characters. And the way to be able to tell that's her is, getting off, thanks Mel, having her with that extra bit, I feel, would push her character up a little bit more. It'd be interesting to have. I'm surprised that they haven't done it, since she has been introduced since season 1. But moving forward, we're going to talk about one of Tim Bradford's exes, Ashley. And I have her in the trash tier, to be honest. I feel that her character ended up being underutilized, and her relationship with Tim just didn't go anywhere and was pointless to the show, more or less. And one of the things that I'm surprised about is she doesn't get with the next character that I'm going to talk about. And I'll go more into that when I talk about that character as well. So, honestly, she's trash tier. I have no strong opinions on her. I don't feel she's strong enough to go in meh. Because, honestly, taking out her inclusion in the show would not take anything away from it, in my opinion. So moving on to the next character we are going to talk about that I alluded to. Lucy's ex, Chris, from the DA's office. And I put him in trash tier as well, for more or less the same reason as Ashley. The relationship between Chris and Lucy really didn't go anywhere. He did have the prevalent role of being attacked by Rosalind Dyer, so he does have a little bit of a push on the series more than Ashley did, but I still feel that he just goes into E tier. That relationship went nowhere and could have been taken away from the show. He should have just stayed as someone that was pushing against Lucy instead of them ending up in this relationship that just goes nowhere and ends, even though it seems like everything was going to be fine between the two of them. And like I alluded to, I kind of, with that double date episode, thought we were going to see him and Ashley end up getting together. And it'd be interesting if we see that, but I doubt it. Those two characters are probably done with the show and we'll never see them again. But it's interesting to see some kind of an episode come up that brings those two back for just a scene or something. It's like, oh yeah, we're together now. Next on the docket, we're gonna talk about James Murray. And I have him in the mid-tier character. And what keeps him out of the Grew on Me is his character is a bit weak in my opinion. I like his interactions with Wesley. Him and Nyla Harper, though, is still kind of iffy, in my opinion. And we'll have to see where that goes moving forward. It seems a little bit better nowadays, but the weird way it started and the conflict that they have really pushes him down into mid-tier. He also is underutilized, I feel, in the show a little bit. I mean, he did have a strong episode where he was almost assassinated by someone, luckily recovers, but since then, he really hasn't been around much. And I know he's starting to come around a little bit in the current season, but I feel mid-tier is the best place to place him at this time. Next up, let's talk about Oscar Hutchison. And he is our next S-tier character. He is what I feel Rosalind Dyer would be if she was still around. If Rosalind was still around, this is kind of why I feel she would go higher if she was still around. And Oscar fills this void. He is just this guy that is always looming in the background. And you'll never know when you'll see him. And his episode where he kidnaps John, it's one of the best in my opinion. Him stabbing Wesley in the bunker in that episode. Him being the inside guy when he was still in the prison before escaping with Jason, being the reason Jason gets out. Oscar is just this thorn in the side of the LAPD and John Nolan that makes him one of the best characters in the show and kind of a joy to see whenever he makes an appearance. So, all Oscar episodes are fantastic. So that is why he has to go into S tier. Next up, let's talk about Tamara. And I have her currently in Grew on Me tier. And the reason she's in Grew on Me is it was a rough start with her starting out. She just seemed like, just keep, with the way she kept pushing back everything and trying not to reciprocate Lucy's help and trying to do things on her own is what keeps her out of the really liked tier. Plus, after she moves out, she kind of falls out as a character. Her relationship with Seth was weird. I honestly don't understand why that ever became a thing. But that's why I feel she goes into grew on me tier. I don't know. I don't know if there's a way she could have gone up more. Like, she's not a bad character, don't get me wrong. But she's just lacking, in my opinion. And I guess that's all I have to say. So we'll move on next to Jackson's dad, Percy West. And I have him in the mid-tier. His episodes where he shows up when Nolan ended up killing the suspect in that episode, that is good. He kind of falls into the same category that Lopez does, that I wish we would have had a little bit more of him when Jackson was dealing with Doug. Like, this is his father. I understand he's also head of IA, but it is his son that is currently being scrutinized by this training officer. So, not seeing Percy in that regard pushes him down. I also wish we would have got him when Jackson did perish. I wish we would have seen him, like, helping to look for the murderer. I can understand him not being in the plot line to save Lopez, but I kind of wish that whenever they were in the briefing room, that he would at least shown up and been like, I am helping you all with this. And that's why I feel he has to stay in mid-tier, because partially his underutilization in the show as well. Next person we're going to talk about is Skipper, Jackson's boyfriend, who went under another name, but is actually known as Skipper. I have him in trash tier. The episode where they pretended to break up, that was a good angle. I like that. But ultimately, the way he ended up leaving the show was just kind of weird. Having this backstory that he was actually a committed felon, it just was weird. So, I don't have much more to say. I'm just going to put him in trash tier. Next, we're going to talk about Silas. And I have him in meh tier. He is enjoyable in his episodes that he is in. The episodes where they're recording the training videos with Wesley, James, and Wade. they're enjoyable, and him catching the proposal from James was cute. And I think they do a good job at portraying the mental illness that he has. It's not something that's like pushed down the throat, and it's done tastefully. So I give him Menatier. Just because he's been underutilized at this point, we haven't seen him in a while, so it feels wrong to put him in mid. But meh, sounds good to me. Next person we're going to talk about is another one of Lucy's exes. The first one in the series, besides John Nolan, is Emmett, the firefighter. And I put him in trash. Because kind of like her relationship with Chris, it just doesn't go anywhere. He undermined what Lucy wanted him to do, and he provides really nothing to the show. So he can go into the trash. Next up, we're going to talk about Abby. And she goes into mid-tier territory. And that's partially due to her documentary episode where they explain that her and Henry are no longer a thing, that ended. I kind of wish we seen that and it didn't happen off screen. Like, I'd like to know the backstory of what happened and why it ended. But up until then, she probably could have been on Grew on Me tier, possibly. But the documentary episode really took down her character. The fact of her ex situation costing her the potential to be a police officer, that kind of goes against it as well. She has a hard time in the show. But overall, she was an enjoyable character up until the documentary episode. And then she just kind of goes. I'm honestly, I don't know if we'll see any more of her in the show, but if we do, I'd be interested to see what happens with her. And maybe we possibly get a backstory on what happened between her and Henry. Alright, I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and make a part 2 for this video. So far, this is what the ranking is looking like here at the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 of ranking the rookie characters. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And as always, I'm Cody the Hangman Heinzman, and that's just how it is.